Well, we'll let Sue just came in the door. We'll give her a minute to get ready to rock and roll, and I think everybody is here. All right, so, all right, we will call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Thill.
Here.
And Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this morning.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances or acknowledgments, no consent calendar or no old business, under new business, authorize the mayor to sign the USDA Rural Development Loan and Grant Application Documents, Form RD 1942-46, Letter of Intent to Meet Obligations, NPA Applicant Awareness Certification, Form RD 1940-1, Request for Obligation of Funds. And as everyone here is aware, I believe it was Mr. Corbin and Brad that brought this to our attention over a month ago, and that there would be possibility of getting some grant monies along with the loan and that to improve our water projects and that in the city of Madison. And we have been going through this application process, and today in that we have to make a decision on moving forward at this point in time because the deadline is noon today. Mr. Corbin?
I believe it was in the middle of June when we started this journey, if I recall, because rural development got some additional funds and it looked like they'd have some grant money available. And so we sat down and talked about a project we could submit for funding, and we came up with the West Tower and ended up being about 5 miles of distribution line in the street. And now here we are today deciding whether we're going to sign the letter of intent. It's been a lot of work on many departments' parts, but I think it's something we need to do. We have a lot of need out there. Operationally, the water tower would be beneficial to the community to have it be a bit taller and a bit bigger. And the one we have over there is near the end of its operational life. And as everybody knows, we're having leaks all the time. And the problem areas, this project should address a number of them. It's not going to fix all our problems, but it'll put us down a path where if we keep chipping away at it, we're going to consistently improve the system every year from a reliability, from a health standpoint, and public safety, frankly. What do you guys want to say about this?
Well, and rural development did come back with a loan and a grant. So approximately $2.1 million of the project will be grant monies. And so having had time, to get all the questions answered, and this is the first time in that we as a city commission have dealt with an RD loan and grant, but the Madison Hospital was built on an RD grant and loan. So it is not new to Madison, it is just new to this commission. We do have a number of areas of the city in that could really be improved, not only with quality of water lines, but also volume of water lines. We have a number of water lines that were probably put in the 1920s, 1930s, and 40s. And they are reaching, and in some cases in that have reached their useful life and are creating, many issues for the city. So this would be a one way of assisting and stepping up the project in that and benefiting the citizens of Madison. We've had a lot of information presented to us over the last couple months. Are there questions that any of the commissioners in that have that may not have been answered? Corbin and I have sat in, I think, on all the meetings in that, but I know some of you have not.
No, all I have to add is, a big thank you to Brad and to Commissioner Corbin. I know Commissioner Johnson's been involved in this as well, from a standpoint that when you dig up the streets here to replace these pipes, I know he's been involved in this. Jen's office, I know, has done a huge amount of work. Chad from the engineering side, and again from Brad's side, to really take a look at where those trouble areas are, working with Commissioner Corbin to find those. I know that water tower's been on our radar, and to get that replaced, there's some other balancing and other things that they're going to be able to do now, really help us with our distribution. And so I'm excited about that, and completely appreciate the work of all of the folks that have done this. This is a huge deal for Madison as a city. Everybody talks about infrastructure. It doesn't get more infrastructure than water pipes and streets and electricity. So this is a huge deal for our city. Very positive deal.
Once the project's complete, we're going to have a payment for roughly 40 years. At least that's what it's scheduled. And our current water rates can absorb that payment. Once this project's complete, we're going to need to look at what we want to do annually for upgrade projects and how much resources we're going to need for that. And more than likely, we're going to have a rate adjustment at that point. That'll probably be in 2021 or 2022. We'll have some minor ones getting to that point. But there's a lot of variables too. I mean, we've been adding some users to the town, and if economic development things come into play, I don't want to say we're not going to have a rate increase, but there's too many unknowns right now to say what it's going to be. But we can afford this project with our water rates. The other part of it is there's going to be a portion of the street that we plan on redoing, and we're going to need to fund that. And it's looking like we may need to find about $2.5 million in financing for that. And are we leaning toward bonding for that potentially? And we could cover the cost of that bond essentially by the current Lewis and Clark payment we're making out of the second cent money, and then that refund money that is running through LAIC to Custom Touch. Those two fall off at about the same time, and that amount of money is about what would be our bond payment for 20 years for the streets. So I am comfortable that all our financing is actually in order to move forward with this project without changing much substantially, frankly.
And even though it's a 40-year loan, there's no penalties other than savings to pay it off early as well. So I mean, that's another thing.
It's
that we can
amortized
look
over
at.
40.
Yeah.
Amortized over
It-
40.
Do you know, is
Yeah.
it set in stone 40? I know they offer 30-year loans, and not many systems take them up on that, but is that?
This one is amortized at 40, and correct me, Jennifer, if I'm wrong. This is amortized at 40, but prepayments and that are welcome anytime.
Right.
Correct.
But, when you're borrowing money for 40 years, a lot of that interest expense is up front.
Right.
If we paid it off 10 years early, Jen and I were looking at the other day, there's a
Yes.
savings. There's a fairly healthy savings at 20 years, but that's a lot of money to pay in 20 years.
We'll continue crunching numbers and see just what we can afford and how, and in being able to continue projects that we need to continue, other than this one.
Yes, it's all looking down the road, Once this project's done, we'll be looking at 2022 and what projects we want to do going forward. And then from a financing standpoint, I believe in 2028, the water fund has a loan that's paid off that's like $220,000 a year. Maybe that commission might want to throw that money at that RD project or need it for projects at that time. It's hard to say. But for the time being, I think this is a necessary project and something we can afford. It helps that we got that grant, what is it, $2.1 million?
The grant is really a healthy portion of this project, which makes this very attractive and also fits into our financing of this project, very well. So, other questions or comments? Chad?
I just wanted to say, included in the agenda packet is the terms. You all have that, and I think you referred to it later. But we've had, I think it's all been alluded to here with some comments the mayor made. But we've had several meetings with our staff, including Mr. Jeremiah and Mr. Corbin and Mayor Lindsay, and then we got another one with our engineer on this, and then another one with First District, trying to really get our arms around this, what is this, a 20-page letter of terms and so on. So we want to take this seriously, but because RD, we've learned from some of those discussions that it's a pretty significant undertaking, and so there's a lot of red tape, dare I say. So I want people to be aware of that. There's a lot of challenges and things that we're going to have to work through. It's a great project, and we got 75% loan, 20% grant, and we do have some local contribution, as you can see, as noted in the letter. But it's going to be a major project. It's going to be a major undertaking, and there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be a lot of the town tore up over the next 3 years. So I just want everybody to be very aware of that.
Right.
That there's definitely going to be some inconvenience, and there's definitely going to be some challenges as we go through and such. But we're starting to try to jump into this immediately with our engineers, and to try to first survey, get some of the initial data. We're going to do the waterline project in phases, to survey it, get a good scope and a good plan laid out, phasing, so we can inconvenience the public as little as possible, and try to do this in the right way. But 3-year window is what we have to spend this. And you may think that seems like a lot when you're talking about putting $10 million into the ground, actually probably closer to 15. That's a major deal. to say it lightly. So I just want everybody to be aware of that too. Again, I think it's been great working with all the staff and the other agencies to get a good understanding of what we're moving into, so to speak.
We've learned a lot already.
And we're starting assessments on the wastewater collection system in all these areas. We plan on addressing all the infrastructure issues as we go through and do this project, so we don't have to go back in a few years and tear up somebody's new road and address something. We're hoping to minimize that anyway.
To give some perspective to that, I mean, Center Street project is how long?
About 8 or 9 blocks.
Okay,
One's a
and
long
we've
block.
been, 10 years that's been talked about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's about a half a mile.
You know, the planning for that, so I give some perspective to how many miles will this be approximately?
A little over 5.
And it was in the neighborhood of 5.
With Center Street like 2,600 feet.
Yes.
This
Yep.
project will be 22,000 feet, I believe.
Correct.
In 3 years.
Yes. Now, one thing I want to explain too, and I think we've touched on it, I don't want to get too far into the weeds. Initially, the plan is to try to retain as much curb and gutter where it's in suitable condition as we can. Put the new water main in the streets. As Mr. Corbin alluded to, we're going to try to get some assessments done immediately on the sanitary sewer system, and if there's anything that requires digging at all, if there's a broken pipe or something like that we can determine from this assessment, we'll dig at the time of this project, because most of the surface will be gone. And then related to the surfacing, instead of just putting the trench back, if you will, over top of the pipe, we're going to continue what we've started more recently with replacing the entire surface of the roadway. So again, retain the curb and gutter, replace the entire surface, spot repair any items with the sanitary sewer, if there's only any manholes that need to be addressed. We don't know that at this time. And then, of course, if there's any storm sewer too, that's another infrastructure we want to address while we have it opened up as well. The idea being with the sanitary is not necessarily to redig that, but if it's in satisfactory condition, we'll ultimately line it. And then, so in essence, you'll have all of our public infrastructure addressed in those streets. So we're going to do our best to address it all right now. And so it's and we don't have any, as of today, we don't have any survey done, and we don't have any of the sewer line assessments done. And so again, it's a pretty significant effort that we're going into, but we've been planning for it and thinking about it, and so we're going to do it in phases and get her done.
And the water tower will go from 450,000 gallon to 750,000 gallon. Currently, the two water towers' water levels are 25 foot in elevation difference. This will bring them both to the same elevation difference, which will even out the pressure throughout the town also in the water system.
Get rid of
which
the
will
two
help as well.
pressure zones, get rid of the two pressure zones. We have lead paint on our tower, so that's good. You know, we have a limited options for recoating that, there, which we did recently, probably about 3 years ago. By the time this gets going, and they don't last. Coatings don't last as long. These, the ones we were forced into because of the lead coating. You know, so all those things make up, and it's an 85-year-old tower. I'm sorry.
The coating, the new coating that was just put on a few years ago is already flaking off.
Correct,
so.
and that's a limitation of the type we are forced to use because of the lead.
Lead that's on it.
Right.
So there are a number of advantages in that to move this project forward, and we through the offices and that and the commission and that, a lot of knowledge has been gained. There's still some things, you know, accounting. When you're doing an RD loan, the accounting is probably fourfold from what we're used to, which means the accounting is more often and maybe more detailed, you know, than the projects we've done in the past. So those are some of the learning curves in that we will be working with as we move along. So, other questions or comments?
I do think that it's a good idea to do the whole street because a few years ago we put a new water line in up on North Division, and that is just like a roller coaster. You never get your ground back, and this way you can put your fabric down and everything should be the same like it was in the other streets. I don't know if that's what's going to happen up on 5th Street or Southwest 4th, but because we only did portions because the money was short, nobody's fault. Just one of them things when you run out of funds, you got to make cuts. So, but I do like doing the whole street.
Very good.
I don't think anyone would argue with you on that.
Yeah.
Because that
If your
division-
neighborhood's going to be messed up for a summer, it's nice to have a.
And I think it was pretty much an assumption on my part that we would do those, but it's good to note it to the public that this is going to be a significant improvement in the quality of those streets that'll be.
I would say argue most of those streets are probably at the end of their life
Yeah.
anyway, so
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
right.
Yeah.
And one of the areas that we're addressing, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, we've had 5 breaks in that neighborhood already this year.
Yes, there's been multiple breaks, and what has happened when we separated the system into 2 pressure zones, what happens is you end up with a lot of dead-end lines, and because some of those dead-end lines are a little bit smaller, the water hammer tends to be a little bit more of an impact on them because the water moves at a higher velocity in the smaller lines, and that creates more of a water hammer issue in those dead-end lines, and so we've had a lot of breaks along the dead-end line area, and I think even though we're going to go up in pressure, I think by putting 2 towers in, you eliminate some of the water hammer. And then the second thing is you go back to looped lines, you reduce the water hammer again. I think we'll actually get better service out of the lines we have and have fewer breaks. And I think that's one of the benefits of this. The other thing I learned here at this conference, and that, you know, we've lamented a little bit about how our build out on the water is going to be something along the lines of a 40-year project, and this is going to help us compress it. The city of Des Moines was looking at theirs, and they were at an 800-year build out to fix their water main. So I think we're in better shape than Des Moines, but we want to make a big step ahead and take a big chunk of this out and get it done up front so we can improve the water for everybody right away. And I think that's the quality of the pressure, fewer breaks, all that stuff. I think this is going to be a really big help for the next 10, 15, 20 years while we're building out the rest of the system.
Very good.
I'll make a motion we authorize the mayor to sign USDA Rural Development Loan Grant Application Documents, Form RD 1942-46, Letter of Intent to Meet Obligations, NPA Applicant Awareness Certification, Form RD 1940-1, Request for Obligation of Funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no public comment, I'm assuming there isn't anything out there. Okay. No announcements, no executive session. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
I'm gonna be